Good morning. Welcome back. You're still watching Daybreak on this 27th day of March 2023. My name is Sam Gituku and I want to introduce the panelists once again. Edward Muriu is the Member of Parliament for Gatanga constituency. Good morning.
Morning, Sam.
And I think he's the Vice Chair. Jaylak?
I'm the Vice Chair. I'm the Secretary in charge of Legal Affairs, UDA Party.
And at Parliament committees?
I sit in Jaylak.
Oh, you sit in Jaylak. Okay, Member of Jaylak. We have Senator Richard Onyonka from Kisii County. Good morning.
Good morning, Sammy.
And we also have Mr. Changoni here from Kreko. Good morning.
Good morning, Sam.
It is good to see you all this morning. And of course, like I told you, we're still monitoring what's going on. We started receiving some images of what's going on at different locations. Nothing much to report about. Of course, we know that the police have already indicated that today's demonstrations or protests are illegal and they'll be dealing with them. We wait to see what happens at a time that Raila Odinga insists that they have to go on. And those are the main stories that you find on the two dailies. The front page of the Daily Nation is Arrest Me, Raila, Police Lock Horns, Constitution gives Kenyans right to hold peaceful demonstrations. And then, of course, detailing what the Inspector General was saying, what Raila Odinga said, and what Kithure Kindiki is planning to do. And we'll be talking about that later on. It's also a similar story on the Standard. Calls for sobriety or talks. Leaders are asking President Ruto and Azimio leader Raila Odinga to sit and come up with solutions to the problems and stop the grandstanding. Several quotes that you'll find there. We'll have a serious conversation about this shortly after now. But first, I want us to reflect on what just happened last week. That is the appointment of the Chief Administrative Secretaries at a time that different organizations have come out and said that indeed this should not have happened. The Law Society of Kenya is already in court challenging the appointment of 50 CASs at a time that the Executive Office of the President sometime last year between September and October had indicated that they wanted 23 positions created, one position for every ministry, but the Interior Ministry was to have two, making a total of 23 CASs. But now 50 was sworn in last week, and this is after the National Assembly Speaker, Moses Wetangula, indicated that there was no law requiring them or requiring Parliament to go ahead and vet the CASs. Let me begin with you, Honorable Muriu, because you come from the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee and also an advocate, that we saw the High Court last year, in 2021, finding that for any person to be appointed to a position of CAS, CS or PS, they must first be competitively recruited and then also vetted by Parliament. And now the National Assembly Speaker returned those names to the President saying, there's no law that requires me to do this and therefore have them back. The President obviously went ahead to appoint them. What is the wisdom behind this? Was there not any other route to be followed to see that these people are vetted?
Thank you, Sam. And once again, thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to come and ventilate national issues this morning. I would say, number one, there is what you call in law a lacuna. And a lacuna is a situation whereby there is the practice, and then there's a procedure. And when it comes to issues pertaining to vetting the CAS, there is no specific law which says, number one, for example, which committee is supposed to vet them, the procedure of vetting. And that's why Speaker Wetangula, in his wisdom, he said, look, well, we'll be happy to vet, but again, we don't have the legal framework to do it. And I think you find that in every other national or maybe the commissions and the like, there is a process of vetting. But in the CAS, as you can see, that matter is already in court. It's being ventilated. So it's a law which is being it's a matter which again is new because this is a second stamp in the government whereby we are appointing CAS. And as you can see from arguments from both sides, they are saying, look, there is no provision for CAS in our constitution. There are no provision for CAS in the Public Service Commission, and that's the case which has been put in by the Law Society, and therefore, and since it's a grey area, there's that lacuna. you find that, and that's why the Speaker said, look, this matter need to be, this not matter within the parliamentary purview, and those people may be appointed by the President directly without the vetting.
But if the High Court in 2021 stated what the procedure should be, then there was a request to have positions of CASs created, and they were created. There were instructions from Joseph Kenya to declare them. They were declared. Why wouldn't Parliament work on either on its own motion or from the executive side to propose a piece of legislation so that this process is smooth? Because now you have people that have been appointed without compliance with a court order, never mind that there's a pending appeal. Then what happens to the rule of law?
Some, I think, you can only be able to have one bite after the other. The Kenya Kwanza government is only 6-7 months into leadership. Of course, they cannot be able to undertake all the proposed legal legislation at a go. And I would say, honestly, even that legislation has not come to the Committee of Justice and Legal Affairs. So it has not come back. But you do remember, the same court in 2020, either 2021 or thereabout, it declared the process of appointing the commissioner or IBC unconstitutional because of a lot of composition. Most of the members used to come from the Public Service Commission. And you find that legislation came into Parliament being proposed by the court, and we were able to harmonize that law, and whereby the political parties liaison committee got a member, Law Society committee got a member, they reduced the number of the...
So it was possible to review the law for IBC, but it's not possible to review the one for vetting?
It has not come before the House, because again, remember, the Parliament's role is to pass the laws. The law has not come into Parliament, but I'm sure it should be on the way. But I do want to agree with you that possibly, maybe it would have given a priority. So at least, again, there's a proper procedure of appointment of those people. But I would say 6-7 months down the line, I think it's still too early. Hopefully, shortly, we'll be able to have the legislation to be able to harmonize that process.
Senator, is it too early to comply with what has been prescribed by the courts?
Sammy, I've really listened to my brother interrogate the matter. He's really struggling with it for no reason. My brother, let me tell you, whether this matter was legal or illegal, it is the wrong time to create 50 positions in government. When people out here are complaining about poverty, when issues are coming up about the situation we are having in the economy, when there is conflict between Raila and William Ruto politically, you guys are employing 50 people. I know my friends who have been given those positions are really happy. And I hope they don't think it is them I'm fighting or it is them I'm besmirching. No. I think if this was done legally and if it was necessary, I don't think there's any problem for them not to have been given the jobs. But right now, we can't afford staff. There was no need to hire 50 people. After the president has set up his cabinet, after he has finished with the cabinet, he has brought all the CSS, PSS, and all that, then you are going to hire another number of 50 people. Kenyans out here are getting very upset with our leadership. So for me, as an oversight officer, it is something I would have said, yes, Mr. President, this thing has happened. Now what you need to do, clean it up. If the court is supposed to give you the okay, if there's supposed to be vetting done, let that process take place. There is no need for you to hurry. Follow the law. After all, William Ruto ran as president saying he will follow the law. So let him also follow the law.
And do you, I mean, because there was already a petition against these names by one Eliud Karanja Matindi.
Yes.
And one of the prayers was that Parliament be barred from vetting these people so that they don't assume office. And there was supposed to be a mention on 23rd, which is on Thursday, at 9 a.m. But on the same day, at 9 a.m., some of the CSs had already been sworn in. I mean, is it a coincidence, or is it, are we seeing a bit of playing of tricks to defeat the process?
How do you look at it? That's how I look at it. I mean, the truth that there is, Sammy, the problem we are having right now in our country is that, you know that expression, are there men or are there leaders in the house? Mm-hmm. I think as Kenyans, and I think as intelligent people, a way needs to be looked on how this issue of President William Ruto and the issue of Raila is sorted out. Mm-hmm. Right now, it is a hot potato. And Sammy, my honest observation is that let Kenyans be very sincere with ourselves and make sure that adults in the house are given an opportunity to consult with both sides mm-hmm. so that these people can begin talking and we can engage.
Okay, I hear you. Joshua, what are your thoughts about these 50 CASs and all the controversy that has gone on in this?
Yeah, thank you very much, Sammy. Let me begin by the first paragraph of the Kenya Kwanza manifesto, which they called it the plan. They make a very strong and hopeful delivery to Kenyans when they were seeking for political office. Mm-hmm. Number one, they told Kenyans that their first agenda is to defend the Constitution. And that is on the second sentence of their introduction. And then secondly, they told Kenyans that how we make choices in this election will determine as to whether Kenya goes backward or forward. And then thirdly, they made an observation that Kenya then, before the elections, was in absurdity. That is the word that they used. Mm-hmm. And the absurdity was that people cannot understand what the government is doing. But as we speak, 7 months down the line after the elections, I don't think that is what we are seeing. That does not even require timelines. Mm-hmm. Those are things that you just see outright that are these people genuine in their plan, as they called it, or they are not genuine. But there are things that are of importance in this discussion. Number one, Kenyans cannot afford food. And that is a reality. Whether we talk about a packet of unga in the supermarket or a tin of maize in the village. Because again, this conversation has been reduced to those who are in urban areas, but those who are in the villages, I'm telling you, that is a phenomenon that probably is getting ignored, that people cannot afford the basics. Mm-hmm. And food is one of them. And as we talk about food, it means that this country, in fact, the discussion that we need to be having in this country is food sovereignty. I watched the TV last night and I saw the terrible situation in Turkana where an old man was feeding on wild fruits mm-hmm. and was just, begging for a continuity of his life. And I could not believe that those are the images that we are looking at in this country in this century. Especially when people were given hope that that is something that we'll address in 100 days. Mm-hmm. And it is there in their plan. Then secondly, we have an escalating victimization of ethnic groups in this country, which is very unfortunate because these are pronouncements that are made by people who are office holders, public office holders.
What do you mean with victimization of ethnic groups?
We've had discussions around where this country has been called a company of shareholders as opposed to a country of stakeholders. Because we all pay taxes. But such utterances is not inspiring mm-hmm. because it reduces and it trivializes the outcome of the election. That you people made this choice and look at us, we are enjoying on the table. And by the way, Sam, this is happening at the county level. It is happening at the national level. And we've been monitoring this, and it is in the public domain. These are not creations of just a few individuals. It is in the domain of the public spaces. Then thirdly...
You've seen it in terms of appointments or service delivery?
Both. In service delivery and the appointments and all sorts, even the current space that we are operating in. Mm-hmm. Then thirdly, mm-hmm. issues of citizens at the local level are getting emotional day by day, right from what is happening in Kerio Valley. in the banditry. You've seen those 6 countries that we are talking about, where there is instability as a result of the operation that is ongoing currently. And I think that is just an example that we are just trying to give. We've seen issues around our education system. Parents and teachers are in confusion, especially on the piloting of the junior secondary school, where we were told on the 30th of January that each child is going to get 15,000 Kenya shillings and there will be deployment of teachers. As we speak, I'm a parent in junior secondary school. But as we speak, there's no clarity as to whether CBC is working or it's not working. And remember, this is 7 years down.
I hear you, and sorry to cut you short because I think you're going off the question that I posed. Please note those down. You'll mention them at some point. But then, for these 50 CSs, should they remain in office, in your view? I know the matter is in court, but what is your opinion as far as clearance to recruit 23? You go ahead and recruit 50, not vetted by Parliament. What should happen?
I'm aware this matter is in court, and I know it will be sub judice to discuss this at length, especially on the national platform like this. But my observation is that let's do the right thing at the right time. And I have also Kenyans know that we are following what the Constitution laid down. And I'm really very optimistic that the judiciary is going to make a determination that is safeguarding the Constitution of Kenya 2010.
Allow me just to maybe to clarify, because again, I hear a lot of generalities here, a lot of generalities here, and said this: the appointment of CAS did not in any way break any law. There is no law which the president broke by appointing the CAS. That's number one. Number two, the problems of this country, the cause is not the appointment of CAS. And even if the president does not or did not appoint the CASs, the price of unga would have come from 250 shillings to about 90 shillings. Now, and therefore, we need to be very careful here because remember the president has been given the mandate by the people to rule as per the Constitution, to rule as per the law. Now, if there's no law which then precludes me from appointing the CAS, then it's up to him to make a prerogative to decide, does my government require the CASs? Do I need to ensure that for me to deliver my manifesto, Kenya Kwanza manifesto, do I need these people? And you cannot be able to give some to a president, then you shackle him with non-existent laws. And I would just want to be very clear here because there's a bit of innuendos which has been thrown by all manner of people. But again, once you give a president power, let him set up his government. He's still in the process of setting up the government.
What is the consequence of a letter from Joseph Kenyo, then head of public service, to the Public Service Commission telling them, we want to create 23 positions. Please see if it's possible. The Public Service Commission comes and says, we've done public participation, this is what they have said, and you're recommending that you create, as you asked, 23 positions. Then the head of Public Service Commission writes to the commission and tells them, please declare 23 vacancies and continue and proceed to recruit competitively. So they they call for applications, they shortlist, they interview, they submit names to the president. The president nominates 50.
Good. Now the point here is this. Remember the Joseph Kenywa, the Public Service Commission is part of the executive. And the role of the executive, as you know very well in our Constitution, is to recommend to the president. Is to recommend that to the president to decide, yes, you have proposed 23, but does my government need 23 or I need more? So for me, it's about here allowing, the Constitution provides that the president has certain prerogatives to make decision to be able to set up his government.
How do you create positions in the Public Service Commission?
What do you mean?
How do you create positions in the public service?
How do you create positions in the public service?
Yes.
What do you mean you create public service?
I'm asking that because the High Court was very clear that for you to create a position, you have to involve the Public Service Commission.
Absolutely.
And the Public Service Commission was involved with a figure of 23, and they cleared 23. How then does the president get the prerogative
from
to create
23 to 50?
But the point here is this. The point here is this. Which law, either in the Constitution or in the Public Service Commission Act or any other law preclude the president from appointing more than 23.
I am
23 is a minimum. 23 is a minimum.
I am
he can be able to he can be able to see, look, my government requires much more than 23. And secondly,
Sammy, I think
the matter here is in court. The matter here is
just hold on, Honorable.
But the matter here is in court, and therefore we need to be very careful, because again, this is a national TV.
I'm asking you a question. So if the president can create 50 because he needs 50, why not involve the Public Service Commission to
get the other 25?
But all those people, the number, all those nominees were proposed to the president by Public Service Commission.
50 positions were not created by the Public Service Commission.
23. Wow.
Why not involve the Public Service Commission to create and hold public participation on them, on 50?
The point here is this, Gichuko. The Public Service Commission brought in a list. It didn't bring a list of 23. It brought a list of more than 23. It was there for the president to be able to pick and appoint either 23 or decide to appoint more. And I think here the issue is very simple here, Sam. I wish you are pointing out and say, look, section so-and-so of the Constitution, section so-and-so of the Public Service Commission has been breached. Then we can be able to discuss. But now you are dealing with the prerogative of the president to appoint and set up his government.
I am simply asking. By the way,
and remember the numbers brought by Public Service Commission to the president to appoint. Yes, he recommended 23, but the president, in his prerogative, and the prerogative is available by our Constitution, in his prerogative to run his government, he found it fit to be able. And secondly, if there is an issue, if there's an issue about the appointment of more than 23, that's why the matter is in court.
And that's what I'm saying. This is a question of...
Sammy.
Just hold on. This is just a question of logic, because when you request and you say that you want to create 23, and it's in writing, I would imagine that you appoint 23. If you want to create 50, you request for 50.
But what if he found that it's necessary to have more than 23?
Okay. Senator, what do you say?
Sammy, if the president wanted to have more than 23 members of the CAS, there was no need why he first took the ones who were given by the Public Service Commission and accepted them, because that's what was initially agreed on. But when he's going to now make the substantive appointments, he changes that number from whether it's 23 or 26 to 50. But again, I want to repeat this, Sammy. And I want to tell my brother here, Mheshimiwa. My brother, what I'm talking about for me is that President William Ruto did not actually have to appoint those people at all. Why? The country is struggling. We don't have dollars, our exchange rate has tanked, we don't have reserves, we don't have 3 months of foreign reserves to buy anything internationally. We have basically become a dumping ground for trash. We have become a country that is operating as if it's operating on autopilot, and yet there's meant to be a president, and yet we have laws, and yet we have legislators like my brother and myself. And what I am saying is, the challenges that we face are the ones which we have refused to acknowledge, Sammy. One of those challenges is a president doesn't have to appoint 50 people to govern for him when people are starving. That one looks careless and it looks insensitive. Number two, the challenges that are facing the country right now, for me, they are much bigger than the CAS issue. Because it looks like we don't understand what is happening. It looks like we are not willing to even entertain each other or even listen to each other. You know, Kenyans have had this history where we fight, then we look for a way to talk with each other. The fear that I'm having is we are beginning to become careless. You've seen what the Muslim Council of Muslims is talking about. You saw what the Catholic bishops were talking about. Look at what is happening with the flooding, Sammy. We've just come from a drought. So right now, Kenya needs very clever people to sit down and talk with the key players and the stakeholders to make sure the country stabilizes. And the biggest responsibility we have now is on the president. And yet you find his deputy, like my friend Gachagua, if you hear him speak, you think he's speaking to 5 different countries. And yet we are in one country. And we need to accommodate each other, even when it's as hot as it is. So my feeling is that people need to start becoming more sensitive, and people need to start looking at this country as a thing that if it goes, we have nowhere to go. This is the feeling I'm beginning to have. We are beginning to act like if this country breaks down and it goes into pieces, and in fact, maybe Raila becomes a president after guys go to State House, and maybe President Ruto is removed. Sammy, the truth is this country will fight, and we have nowhere to go. And even after people have fought, they are still going to call a meeting to say, now, can we talk? So my argument is talk now before you destroy the damn thing.
Okay. Senator, that's a good point to take a short break. When we return, we'll be diving into that conversation around that standoff between Raila Odinga and President William Ruto, and of course the voices of the police on what they are saying, and Raila Odinga from the Azimio side. Stay tuned.